Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today I get to share with you something brand new to the Spellbinder shop. There's been a lot of requests for a monthly subscription for the Glimmer Hot Foil plates. Well, starting in January, your request has come to reality because this is the January Glimmer Hot Foil Club Kit, and it is just beautiful. It always comes with a roll of foil and then of course a set of glimmer plates. So this month you get two little hearts. One's an outline of a heart. You get some red foil and then you get the inside piece of the heart. So we're going to make a couple projects with the glimmer kit for this month. Starting off, we are going to take a quick look at the I want to call them dies, but they're glimmer plates. These won't die cut, they're just the plates. But aren't they so pretty? So I pulled in my Glimmer Hot Foil machine. We're just going to turn this on, let it warm up. This is your red foil that comes this month, which is great. I don't have it. But I'll just flip the switch in the back of my machine and we'll let that warm up. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Glimmer Hot Foil machine, I will leave a link at the end of the video showing a tutorial on the unboxing and how I use it. But this is the foil. While our machine's heating up, we are just going to trim down a few pieces of the red foil. When I trim it down, and there's my friend, she wants to know what the foil is, but when I trim it down as close to the plate size as I can get it. This way it will avoid overfoiling, and I found it just works better this way. Usually she comes across the screen and then she'll leave, but this is my little friend and she wants to hang around a little bit. Okay, next I wanted to show you something, a little tip and trick that I had found. This is regular printer paper and I trimmed it down to the same panel as the panel that I'm going to use with my foiling. I placed it on my glimmer machine and then I'm placing the die face up on my printer paper. Next I'll take my foil. You don't want to do this. You want to flip it around to where the colored side is facing your plate. And then I'm taking my card panel, my cardstock, and placing it right over my printer paper. I have found that this will line it up beautifully on your panel. There's been a few times where I've hot foiled and I've had to change my layout because I couldn't get it centered on my panel. So this is my way of fixing that. Just using a piece of printer paper directly on your glimmer machine will help out. Now we're going to build our sandwich. I take my shim plate and then my top plate, place it over my glimmer foil plate, and then we turn that timer on. You can see it's flashing. When it stops flashing, that means our plate is ready to be removed. I'm just going to gently remove it and run this through my die cut machine. Now I like to go forward and then back. This ensures that I get even transfer of my glimmer plate. I'm going to redock it in the station because we're going to use this again and this will help keep it warm. I'll use my tweezers and put this on the cooling mat, and then you could save this sheet for, you can see it when I ran it through the die cut machine, it kind of debossed, but I'll keep that for another project later on. But here is the foiling, and isn't it just gorgeous? I think it's just beautiful. There were a few little extra spots of foiling, but we can fix that and I'll show you how in a minute. We're going to do one more with a panel. So I have my printer paper. I placed it on my glimmer machine. I put my plate facing up. I'll put my foil facing down, and then I'll add my cardstock panel, place that in the same position as my printer paper, and then we build our sandwich and press the timer button. Now while that's warming up, I'm going to take a sand eraser. This works fantastic for removing little pieces of excess foiling on your panels and projects. You just lightly buff away the extra foiling and it works fantastic. But I think this foiling is just gorgeous. I love the red. So that's our first panel. So pretty and shiny. I think it's better than any store-bought card. Okay, my light stopped flashing, so we'll remove this from our base, run this through our Platinum 6. On the slower side, I always go forward and back again. And with that printer paper, you have it perfectly aligned every time. There are grid lines on the Glimmer base, but I found this just a little bit easier. We'll remove the foiling and you can see it centered perfect and it foils just gorgeous. Super pretty. Now we're going to do one more foiling with the centerpiece, or this heart here. I'm not worried about this one being centered on my panel, so I put my plate face up, my foil face down, and then my cardstock. I build my sandwich and then I just press my timer button. Once it stops flashing, we can run this through our die cut machine. And this heart is just gorgeous. And then that's all the foiling that we're going to be doing for today. Once a month I'll be doing a Glimmer Hot Foil Club kit project, so keep a lookout once a month. And there we have it. I'm going to put this on my cooling mat and then we'll remove the foil and you can see how gorgeous this is. It's super duper pretty. Okay, and then this piece we'll save for another tutorial, but I wanted to show you how gorgeous this is. If you wanted to trim around it, and you could actually transfer that to cardstock as well. Okay, we'll turn on from our machine. We'll put our plates on there and then put our cooling mat on top and set this aside. This way we have a little more room to create our projects. We're going to be doing a little bit of die cutting. This die here is actually from the Large Die of the Month Club Kit. It coordinates beautifully with the foil, the Glimmer foiling plates. I'm going to use this to cut out my heart. It's going to leave me a little bit of a white border, but if you are a Large Die of the Month subscriber, this die works with the Glimmer plate for January. I'm going to run this through my die cut machine, and then we have a beautiful foiled heart ready to go. Now, for this next panel, I'm going to bring in some Spellbinders dies. This die set actually just creates a decorative edge on your card base, like little polka dots. So I'm going to take this size and add a polka dot decorative edge along this panel. We'll just tape this down and run this through our die cut machine. It doesn't cut, it just adds polka dot border basically. So there's that panel. And I'm going to use that same die and using some red cardstock. I just want some polka dots going horizontal on this panel here. So I'll just place this on here and then add this, run this through my die cut machine. This way I have polka dots going around the bottom portion of this panel. Just a little something extra. And then last but not least, we're going to die cut some leaves. I'm going to use a Spellbinder leaf die, and I'm so sorry, I don't think I remember. I think this came from a kit club, or a club kit, card kit. If I can find it, I'll link it down below for you guys. But I just cut out a few little green leaf flourishes with some pattern paper. Now for today's card, I'm going to color in my floral images here with my Copic markers, and they color beautifully with alcohol markers. It doesn't affect the foil at all, but it just adds a little bit of color. And so I did that with my heart here. I'm going to give you a close-up. It's so pretty. You can see it doesn't affect the foiling. The foil is just beautiful. And then my little heart frame here. And this one I'm not going to color in. I'm going to leave that just with the gold or the red foiling. Okay, for my first card, we're going to add a little dimension. I'm going to take some foam tape and place this behind the panel. And the cardstock that I didn't think I mentioned, but the cardstock that I'm using today is a cream colored cardstock. It's like a vanilla colored. But I'll place this on an A2 size card base. It's 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. We'll add some foam tape behind our little heart here and place this right in the center. And I think they layer beautifully together. They're just gorgeous. Okay, I am going to stamp my sentiment, and I thought the sentiment stamp set from the January card kit called You're My Type will work perfectly. So I'm using the sentiment that says, I think I love you a little bit more each day. I'm going to stamp that on the same cream colored cardstock. I'm going to ink up my sentiment with some VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and then I'll go ahead and trim that down and block it off. We're going to add a piece of foam tape behind our sentiment as well, and then this is going to go in the center of our little heart. Kind of has a little country charm to it. I just love it. Okay, I'm taking some cream colored jute cord. I'm going to double it up and tie a bow, and then using a glue dot I'll secure that to the center of my heart. I wanted something a little subtle. I didn't want to drown out my beautiful foiling. And then for one last added touch, I'm taking a little heart brad. I'm just going to remove the prongs by bending them back and forth, and then I'll secure this heart to the center of my bow using a glue dot. But I just love the way this turned out. I think it has a very country feel. I like the way this is, and that gold is just, or I want to say, I think I keep calling it gold foiling, but it's red foiling, and it's just beautiful. Okay, now these flowers I created with a Spellbinders die, and I'll link it up above in case you guys are interested on how I created these flowers. But I created 3 flowers to put next to my heart here. We're going to take our little foiled panel, and I'm going to trim it down on the bottom and the top. And then next, with the red cardstock, I'm going to tie a bow with my cream colored jute cord just right above the die cutting that we did with the decorative border die. And everything I used today, guys, I'll link down below for you to check out. I'll just take this panel and adhere this to my cream colored card base. And it wasn't quite long enough, but I'm not worried about the top area because that's where we're going to put this panel. I thought we would take our heart die and cut out a panel inside this frame, the little heart frame. And again, this heart die was actually from the Large Die of the Month from Large Die of the Month Club Kit. Okay, it's not included in the Glimmer Hot Foil Club. Okay, I added foam tape behind my panel, and I'm actually going to use the inside piece of the heart to stamp my sentiment. We'll go ahead and do that before we adhere our background panel. I'm going to take the same stamp set and use the sentiment that says I adore you. And again, I'll ink that up with some VersaFine ink and stamp that on this heart. Next, we'll remove the adhesive backing off of our foiled panel, and then we'll place that on our card base. I found it easier to turn my card base upside down. This way I can line it up perfectly on the top portion. There we go. Nice and even. Then we'll go ahead and tape down our sentiment on the inside. I think that looks pretty just like that, but I have to go a step further and add some bells and whistles. So we're going to add our flowers and our leaves just using some glue dots. Place them in a little cluster, and then that completes our second project using the Glimmer Hot Foil plates. These plates are just stunning, and I thank you so much for joining me, guys. I wish you a fantastic day. Here's some close-ups at the end, and then I'll leave links down below in the description area in case you were wanting to check this out. It's a brand new club this year, and I think it's a great way to start off the year. We'll see you again real soon, guys. Bye-bye.